There has always been a debate in the Rocket League community about whether warming up before playing is actually worth it. The problem with a lot of warm-ups that I see is that if you're not on PC, you can't really do them to the same extent due to not having access to workshop maps. Well, today, that changes, as I teach you the key to warming up in Rocket League that anyone can do in only 20 minutes. And let's just say there's a little secret to this warm-up that will elevate your game to new levels. For this warm-up, all we are going to need is free play and a single training pack. Now, what I'm going to share here is the best way I have found to warm up in Rocket League. The structure of this warm-up is going to prioritize 4 core areas of the game that we want to make sure are up to the highest level possible before we jump into actual ranked. Those 4 core areas are movement and recoveries, powerful touches, control, and shooting. And in each of these areas, we are going to focus on it for 5 minutes. So when you first hop into free play, we are just going to flip around the field as fast as we can, jumping onto walls, air rolling a bunch, putting our car in awkward situations, and just trying to find ways to recover as quickly as possible out of any situation we find ourselves in. This will allow us to get a feel for our car, how it's handling, and make sure that we can move around the field as quickly as we need to. Want to get used to aerialing, pretty much doing everything we would in an actual game, and just get used to being comfortable in the car. So we'll go ahead and run around the field for 5 minutes, and after that we'll move on to the next item. So now that we've gotten our movement all warmed up and our car feels familiar to us and we know what to expect from it, we're going to move on to just powerful touches. So the point of this is to just boom the ball around the field as hard as you can, pretty much moving as fast as you can at all times. Do not be really concerned in this situation if you go for a touch and miss the ball. We actually want that to kind of happen, because if we're going faster than we're comfortable with to make touches on the ball, it means that we're actually getting better. It means we'll be able to make faster touches as we continue to work on it. If we just go with what we're comfortable with, well, we're not really getting any better. So again, for 5 minutes, we're just going to run around the field as quickly as we can, putting powerful touches on the ball, and again, this is going to really help prioritize our touches at speed, as well as also continuing to work on our recoveries and moving as quickly as possible around the field. So again, 5 more minutes of this, and then we'll move on to the next section. Now that we've gotten the powerful touches under control, we're going to move on to the control section of the warm-up. So what we want to do here is just focus on moving around the field, trying to control the ball at all times. Whether it be on the ground, in the air, we basically want to make sure that we're used to controlling the ball. We can add some flicks in as well. We want to keep the ball under control as much as possible. This will help us work on our dribbles, our catches, our air dribbles, pretty much every mechanic that will be used to control the ball in a game, we want to utilize here. Maybe focus on some bounce dribbles, some power slide turns while keeping a dribble. Not really like that, but you get the point. Just making sure we're keeping things under control around the field. It will again be 5 more minutes of this, and then we'll move on to the final parts. One of the drills that I really like to do in this section is air dribbling for a bit and then bringing the ball down to ground and trying to keep it under control as I land off the air dribble. So we'll just go ahead and work through this section for 5 minutes, and then we'll move on to the final part of the warm-up. So now that we've also gotten our control under control, lots of things being under control at this point, we are going to move on to the final section of the warm-up, which is going to be shooting. So for this, we're going to go ahead and hop into a custom training, and for this, we want to use one of the silver training packs. So I'll have the pack code for this one down in the description so you guys can make sure you get your hands on it, as obviously the silver pack from January 2023 isn't really something that's readily available anymore. And actually, instead of silver pack January 2023, we're actually going to go back to September of 2022 because this is the one that I really like to do this on. So now what we're doing here is we're going to do a drill that I like to call 4-corner shooting. What this means is on each of these shots, we want to score the ball into every corner of the net. So I typically start with lower left corner, then lower right corner, then upper left corner, and then upper right corner. And this can be quite challenging, so it might take a bit to get through each of these shots. And this is the one section of the warm-up that I would recommend taking more than just 5 minutes on. You really want to make sure that you get all the way through this on each of the shots, because this will really warm up your shot placements and things like that. We really want to focus on placement on these shots, not so much power, as the placement is really important here to make sure we're getting things warmed up. And as you can see, even I struggle with this quite a bit. It's not the easiest thing to do. So we'll go ahead and run through this, and I will see you guys on the other side. Now, one of the really important things here is to not cheat. It can be really easy to think, okay, I'm going to shoot this in the lower right, then accidentally shoot it in, like, the upper right, and think, okay, yeah, I still hit it into one of the corners, so that counts. No. Make sure that while you're doing this, if you're saying you're going to shoot it into the lower right corner, you're actually placing it into the lower right corner before moving on to a different placement. Now that just about finishes up the entire warm-up. From here, if you want, you can hop into one casual game if you want to get a feel for gameplay before hopping into ranked, but at this point, you're pretty much good to hop into ranked. Now, I did say there was a little secret behind this warm-up that makes it even more powerful than one might expect. And that is this. If we go into the settings right here, we'll see that I have my game speed in training, both in free play and in custom training, set to 95%. Now, a lot of people have always said that you can play in slow-mo, and it makes you feel incredibly quick when you go into an actual game. And that is 100% true. The problem with something like slow-mo, though, is that it can almost make you feel completely out of control by how much faster the entire game feels. By just dropping the game speed ever so slightly to something like 95%, you can get that same speed buff when you go into an actual game, but you don't feel quite as out of control. And I have found that this can be incredibly useful to make yourself feel incredibly fast in-game, but also make your warm-up even more useful because you can actually work on reading bounces and getting touches at a slightly slower speed, so you have a bit more time to read the bounce, and your brain has a bit more time to learn what you're doing on the field. So that is the secret ingredient to this warm-up that makes it even more effective in my opinion. Of course, you're free to adjust this game speed as much as you want. For some people, maybe you do want that lower game speed all the way down to 50%. Then when you go into free play, the game speed will look something like this. This is a little too slow for my liking because we're going to feel totally out of control when I go into an actual game. But this does give you even more time to read bounces and things like that and be able to control your car even more. But I find that 95% is pretty much the sweet spot for me, where it feels like the game is slow enough that I can get a little bit more read practice in on different bounces, but when I go into an actual game, I won't feel totally out of control of my car, which is something that you really don't want to have happen. So that just about wraps it up for the key to a solid warm-up in Rocket League. Go ahead and try this out for yourself. I'd love to hear what you guys think of it down in the comments. Of course, if you guys do enjoy videos like this, make sure you click that subscribe button right down below this video so you make sure you don't miss any future Rocket League content. Additionally, if you'd like to be more involved in this community, please consider joining my Discord, linked down in the description below. So thank you everybody so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. See you later, guys. And if you're looking for some more Rocket League entertainment, might I recommend checking out this playlist right here for some more keys to Rocket League just like this. Or check out this video over here to relive the biggest blunders of the RLCS Spring Major.